The Oak Ridge Estates subdivision had always prided itself on being a model of suburban perfection. Manicured lawns, identical mailboxes, and an unspoken code of conduct that governed everything from holiday decorations to trash can placement. Marcus Rodriguez had moved into the neighborhood 3 years ago, drawn by its promise of tranquility and well-maintained community standards. A successful graphic designer who worked from home, he valued his privacy almost as much as he valued the backyard oasis he meticulously designed. The pool had been his crowning achievement, a custom-built, slate-gray infinity pool that seamlessly blended with the carefully landscaped backyard. Surrounded by carefully placed river rocks and a line of Japanese maple trees, it was more than just a swimming pool. It was Marcus's sanctuary, a place where he could unwind after long days of client meetings and design sprints. At first, the intrusions were subtle. Marcus would notice wet footprints leading from the pool to his back patio or find small plastic toys left scattered around the pool deck. He dismissed these initial signs as neighborhood children perhaps accidentally straying into his yard, but then the frequency increased. Karen Whitmore was a fixture in the Oak Ridge Estates community. A retired school administrator in her mid-60s, she had positioned herself as the self-appointed guardian of the neighborhood's bylaws and community spirit. Her silver bob and perpetually pursed lips were as recognizable as her loud, commanding voice that could cut through any HOA meeting like a sharp knife. One Wednesday morning, Marcus spotted her leading a group of 6 children, none older than 10, into his backyard through a side gate. The gate, which he was certain he'd locked, now stood slightly ajar. The children were wearing matching navy swim caps and carried color-coded towels. Karen, clipboard in hand, was instructing them with the same authoritative tone she likely used during her decades as a school principal. "Remember, children," Marcus heard her say clearly, "proper form is everything in swimming. Mr. Rodriguez's pool provides the perfect training environment." Stunned, Marcus stepped out onto his back porch. "Excuse me," he called out, trying to keep his voice level. "What exactly is going on?" Karen turned, seemingly unruffled by being caught. "Oh, Marcus, I was just about to leave you a courtesy note. The HOA board has approved a community swim program, and your pool is the most suitable location." Marcus knew every word of the HOA bylaws. He'd read them thoroughly when he purchased the home, and he was certain no such provision existed. When he tried to approach Karen, she held up her hand dismissively. "The community needs these lessons," she declared. "Not everyone can afford private swim instruction. We're using the resources available to us." The children continued their swimming drills, completely oblivious to the brewing tension. Marcus watched, a mixture of disbelief and anger rising within him. His private space, his carefully maintained sanctuary, was being transformed into a public swimming facility without his consent. This was more than just an invasion of privacy. This was a direct challenge to his rights as a homeowner. And Marcus Rodriguez was about to make it abundantly clear that Karen Whitmore had crossed a line. The HOA meeting room buzzed with its usual mix of passive-aggressive tension and suburban drama. Fluorescent lights cast an unflattering glow on the gathered homeowners, most of whom seemed more interested in their smartphones than the proceedings. Marcus sat near the back as carefully prepared documentation spread before him, printed screenshots from his security cameras, precise time logs, and a detailed accounting of the unauthorized pool use. Karen Whitmore sat front and center, her posture rigid and self-important. She wore a crisp blue blazer that matched the HOA logo pinned to her lapel, looking every bit the authoritative figure she believed herself to be. When the floor opened for new business, Marcus raised his hand. "I'd like to discuss the unauthorized use of my private property," he began, his voice steady but firm. Karen intercepted before he could continue. "Mr. Rodriguez is referring to the community swim program," she announced, turning to face the room with a practiced smile. "A valuable service we're providing to neighborhood children who might not otherwise have access to swimming lessons." Marcus pulled up the first security camera image on the room's projection screen. It showed Karen leading a group of children through his backyard gate, a gate he knew he'd locked. "This is a clear violation of private property rights," he explained. "These lessons are happening without my consent, without any formal agreement, and without any compensation." The room grew quiet. Some homeowners shifted uncomfortably. Others looked confused. "The community bylaws," Karen interjected, pulling out a well-worn copy of the HOA handbook, "have a clause about shared recreational resources. Section 7, paragraph 3 clearly states that community amenities can be utilized for the greater good." Marcus had anticipated this argument. He'd spent weeks consulting with a local property attorney and had prepared a detailed rebuttal. "That clause," he explained, "specifically refers to common areas, the community center, the tennis courts, the playground. It does not, and cannot, apply to private residential property." But Karen was relentless. "These children need swimming lessons," she proclaimed, her voice rising. "Not everyone can afford private instruction. We're providing a critical service. The tension in the room was palpable. Marcus noticed some of the older residents nodding along with Karen, while younger families looked increasingly uncomfortable. "Do you know how I found out about these lessons?" Marcus continued, clicking to the next slide. It showed a collection of items left behind: wet towels, a child's water bottle, discarded swim goggles. "These were left in my pool area. My private space has become a public facility without my permission." Karen's composure began to crack. "You're being unnecessarily difficult," she muttered, just loud enough for those nearby to hear. But Marcus wasn't finished. He produced a formal letter from his attorney outlining the potential legal ramifications of continued unauthorized use of his property. The document was clear, precise, and unequivocal. As the meeting progressed, Marcus could see the tide turning. Karen's confident facade was crumbling, replaced by a look of mounting frustration. He had come prepared, meticulous in his documentation, strategic in his approach. What Karen didn't realize was that she had pushed Marcus beyond mere frustration. She had awakened a determination that would lead to a response far more creative and chilling than any legal action could achieve. The law offices of Brennan and Associates occupied a modern glass building in the city's professional district. Marcus sat across from Alina Brennan, a no-nonsense attorney specializing in property law, surrounded by meticulously organized case files and legal volumes. Sunlight streamed through floor-to-ceiling windows, illuminating the stack of documents he brought: HOA bylaws, security camera footage, and a detailed timeline of Karen's pool invasions. "It's complicated," Elena said, pushing her tortoise-shell glasses up her nose as she reviewed the materials. "The HOA bylaws are intentionally ambiguous. They're written to give the board significant latitude in interpreting community resources." Marcus leaned forward, frustration evident in his clenched jaw. "So she can just continue using my pool whenever she wants." Elena spread the documents across her mahogany desk. "Not exactly. But pursuing a legal route would be expensive and time-consuming. We're looking at potential litigation that could drag on for months, maybe even a year. Court fees, expert witnesses, depositions. You could easily spend $20,000 to $30,000. The numbers hung in the air like a heavy fog. Marcus was successful in his graphic design work, but that didn't mean he wanted to pour his savings into a protracted legal battle over his backyard pool. His mind drifted to the countless hours he'd spent designing the pool, selecting each slate tile, carefully positioning the landscaping to create a perfect personal retreat. "There's also the potential public relations aspect," Elena continued. "HOA conflicts can get ugly. Some neighbors might sympathize with Karen's argument about community service. You could end up looking like the villain, the wealthy homeowner preventing children from learning to swim." After leaving the attorney's office, Marcus drove home in contemplative silence. His usual route took him past community parks, public swimming pools, and recreation centers, all viable alternatives for swimming lessons that didn't involve invading his private property. At home, he pulled up his security camera footage again. Frame after frame showed Karen leading children through his yard, using his pool as if it were a public facility. The intrusion felt deeply personal. This wasn't just about property rights, it was about privacy, about the sanctity of personal space. He thought about his own childhood. Growing up in a tight-knit immigrant neighborhood, he learned to swim in a community center, not someone's private backyard. The local recreation department had offered affordable lessons supported by municipal funding. What Karen was doing felt like a misguided, potentially illegal workaround to a problem that already had proper solutions. Marcus's design background kicked in. He was used to solving complex problems with creative solutions. Clients would come to him with seemingly impossible design challenges, and he'd find innovative ways to meet their needs. This HOA issue was just another design problem. It needed an unconventional approach. As evening fell, he began sketching in his notebook. Not design concepts for a client, but potential solutions to his pool predicament. Legal action seemed too expensive and potentially damaging. Confrontation had already failed. He needed something unexpected, something that would definitively solve the problem without dragging him through a costly legal battle. The first inklings of a plan began to take shape, a solution so unexpected that it would make Karen think twice about using his pool ever again. The podcast about extreme cold therapy played in the background of Marcus's home office, a seed of inspiration taking root in his creative mind. Dr. Rhonda Perkins, a renowned sports medicine specialist, discussed the benefits of cold water immersion, how temperatures just above freezing could trigger remarkable physiological responses. Most people avoided extreme cold, which made it the perfect deterrent. Marcus began researching industrial-grade cooling systems with the same meticulous attention he applied to his graphic design projects. He consulted with Paul Reeves, a local pool maintenance expert known for handling unconventional requests. Paul had a reputation for solving unique pool problems, from saltwater conversions to complex filtration systems. "You want to do what?" Paul asked, leaning against Marcus' pool equipment area, a look of amused disbelief on his face. Marcus pulled up a detailed spreadsheet and technical diagrams. Controlled temperature reduction. I need to transform this pool into a controlled cold therapy zone. The logistics were complex. Typical pool cooling systems were designed to bring water temperatures down to near freezing levels. Marcus would need a custom solution, a combination of industrial chillers, specialized circulation pumps, and precise temperature control mechanisms. Paul whistled, impressed by the technical complexity. This isn't just about making the pool cold. You're talking about creating a controlled therapeutic environment. Exactly, Marcus replied. He discovered a potential loophole. If the pool became a specialized therapeutic facility, it would be impossible to use for casual swimming lessons. The equipment would be expensive, nearly $15,000 worth of industrial cooling technology, but still cheaper than prolonged legal battles. Research revealed fascinating details about cold water therapy. Professional athletes use similar techniques for muscle recovery. Wellness centers charge premium rates for controlled cold immersion experiences. Marcus wasn't just creating a deterrent, he was potentially converting his pool into a high-end wellness resource. The installation process took 2 weeks. Specialized technicians worked carefully, integrating industrial-grade cooling systems with Marcus's existing pool infrastructure. Thermal sensors would allow precise temperature control with the ability to maintain water temperatures just above freezing, cold enough to be unpleasant for casual swimming, but safe for controlled therapeutic use. Marcus documented everything. If Karen or the HOA challenged him, he'd demonstrate that he was transforming his pool into a legitimate wellness facility. The security cameras captured every moment of the installation, providing a detailed record of his methodology. Paul helped him calibrate the final settings. "You realize this is borderline genius," he said, watching the temperature display drop steadily. "Most people would have hired a lawyer. You're turning your pool into a statement." The cooling system was a marvel of engineering. Powerful chillers circulated water through a complex network of heat exchangers, rapidly dropping the temperature. Thermal barriers prevented heat gain from the environment. Marcus could control the pool's temperature with the precision of the scientific laboratory. As the installation completed, Marcus stood back and smiled. This wasn't just about preventing Karen from using his pool. This was a creative solution that transformed an invasion of privacy into an opportunity for innovation. The pool was no longer just a backyard amenity. It had become a sophisticated cold therapy zone. Karen had no idea what was coming. The Saturday morning arrived with a deceptive calm. Sunlight filtered through the Japanese maples surrounding Marcus's backyard, casting dappled shadows on the pool's unusually still surface. Karen arrived precisely at 8:45 a.m., her navy SUV pulling into the driveway with the same authoritative precision she brought to everything else. 6 children trailed behind her, beach towels draped over their shoulders, swim caps and goggles at the ready. Marcus watched from his home office, a cup of coffee growing cold beside him, security cameras capturing every moment of the unfolding scene. "All right, children," Karen announced, her voice carrying across the backyard. "Today we'll be working on our freestyle technique." She approached the side gate, clipboard in hand, confident in her routine. The gate was unlocked, deliberately so. As the children began to approach the pool, the first hint of something unusual struck them. The air around the pool seemed different, somehow colder. Condensation formed unusually quickly on the pool's surface, creating a slight fog that hovered just above the water. The first child dipped a toe in and immediately pulled back with a sharp yelp. "Miss Karen," one of the older children called out, "something's wrong with the pool." Karen's confident stride faltered. She approached the pool's edge, her perfectly pressed khaki pants and crisp white polo shirt a stark contrast to the increasingly ominous pool surface. Steam, or was it frost, seemed to rise from the water. Marcus stepped out onto his back patio, a printed document in his hand and a carefully neutral expression on his face. "Good morning, Karen," he called out, his voice carrying just the right mix of politeness and warning. She turned, confusion replacing her usual smugness. "What have you done to the pool?" Marcus held up the document. "I've converted it to a controlled cold therapy facility, fully documented with the county health department and registered as a specialized wellness resource." He gestured to the pool, where the water temperature hovered just above freezing, cold enough to be deeply uncomfortable but not dangerous. The children had already retreated, huddling together with looks of shock and discomfort. Karen's face cycled through several emotions: disbelief, anger, then a dawning realization that she had been outmaneuvered. "You can't do this," she sputtered. "The HOA. The HOA?" Marcus interrupted calmly, "has no jurisdiction over how I use my private property for legitimate wellness purposes. Each session is carefully monitored, with full safety protocols in place." He pulled out his second document. "I'm even certified as a cold therapy instructor." The lie was bold, but delivered with such precise conviction that Karen momentarily hesitated. One of the children, teeth chattering despite having only been near the pool for moments, tugged at Karen's sleeve. "Can we go to the community pool instead?" Marcus watched as Karen's carefully constructed plan crumbled. The swimming lessons she had so brazenly conducted on his private property were over. The pool that had been her unauthorized classroom was now a testament to his ingenuity, a near-freezing body of water that would remain resolutely unsuitable for casual use. As Karen gathered her students and retreated, Marcus allowed himself the smallest of smiles. Sometimes creativity was the best form of defense. The fallout from Marcus's cold therapy pool solution reverberated through Oak Ridge Estates like a carefully placed stone, creating ripples across a still pond. The HOA board called an emergency meeting within days of Karen's failed swimming lessons, and Marcus found himself at the center of a complex neighborhood drama. Board President Robert Henley, a retired accountant known for his methodical approach, reviewed Marcus's documentation with painstaking detail. The wellness facility certification, while creative, appeared to be legally sound. Marcus had anticipated every potential challenge, consulting with legal experts and health department officials to ensure his pool conversion met all necessary regulations. "Mr. Rodriguez," Henley said during the meeting, adjusting his reading glasses, "your approach is unconventional." Marcus simply smiled. "I believe in finding innovative solutions to community challenges." Word spread quickly. Neighborhood gossip transformed the story from a potential property dispute into a local legend. Some residents were impressed by Marcus's ingenuity, while others saw it as an elaborate act of passive-aggressive revenge. Karen Whitmore, for her part, remained conspicuously silent. The unexpected twist came 3 months later. A local physical therapist, Dr. Elena Martinez, reached out to Marcus with an intriguing proposal. She specialized in sports rehabilitation and had heard about his precisely controlled cold therapy pool. Most wellness facilities charge hundreds of dollars for controlled cold immersion. Dr. Martinez explained during her first visit. "Your setup is actually quite remarkable." What had started as a defensive measure began to transform. Marcus worked with Dr. Martinez to develop a structured cold therapy program. Local athletes, physical therapy patients, and wellness enthusiasts began scheduling controlled sessions. He converted part of his home office into a small reception area, creating a professional intake process for his unique facility. Karen's influence in the HOA began to wane. The swimming lesson fiasco had exposed her tendency to overstep boundaries, and other board members became more cautious about supporting her initiatives. She gradually reduced her involvement, focusing instead on less controversial community activities. The most surprising outcome was the community's response. What began as a private dispute became a unique neighborhood resource. Marcus started offering limited community wellness workshops, providing controlled cold therapy sessions at reduced rates for local residents. He carefully managed access, ensuring the privacy of his property while offering a valuable service. During one of the first community workshops, Dr. Martinez explained the scientific benefits of cold therapy: reduced inflammation, improved recovery for athletes, potential mental health benefits. Marcus watched as neighbors who had previously sided with Karen now looked at him with newfound respect. "Not everyone can tolerate extreme cold," Dr. Martinez told the group, "but for those who can, the benefits are significant." Robert Henley, the HOA board president, approached Marcus after the workshop. "You've turned a potential conflict into a community asset," he admitted, a hint of admiration in his voice. Marcus reflected on the journey. What had begun as a defensive strategy against an invasive neighbor had become something entirely unexpected, a creative solution that benefited the entire community. The cold therapy pool was more than just a deterrent, it was a testament to problem-solving, innovation, and the power of thinking beyond conventional boundaries. As for Karen, she continued to attend HOA meetings, but her once loud voice had been reduced to a whisper. The neighborhood had found a new balance, and Marcus had discovered that sometimes the most effective solutions are the most unexpected ones.